back to Watchbox Studios and Watches Tonight. I am your host, Tim Mosso. This evening we discuss the best new watch of 2020. Hint, it's a surprise. And what Audemars Piguet does right, because we get way too negative on the brand at times. All of that, and I am sharing your viewer wrist chats right here on Watches Tonight. Remember to check out the redesigned thewatchbox.com, where we have over 3,000 pre-owned and vintage timepieces live right now. All brands, styles, complications, and price points. Now is the time to do your holiday shopping. Don't let it go. All right, I asked, you answered. Viewer wrist shots number 1. Let's take a look. Rick R. sports the best of independent horology with his Moser Pioneer Center Seconds, a glorious big sky shot. Nicely done, Rick. Jamie T. showcases his Omega Speedmaster Professional alongside his Porsche Cayman S. Mr. Enigma offers a classical wrist shot of a rarely seen Bulova Super Seville. And Abdul R. is foraging for mushrooms in Germany's Black Forest with his Seiko Alpinist. Guys, send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. I can see in the box we've got Richard Combs from South Florida, Edward Ledden from Sweden, Sean B. from Temple, Texas, Mr. No Date, Simon Holt joining in from Hollywood, Northern Ireland, Adam Crossfire asking, is it cold inside? You better believe it's chilly in this little corner room we set up. Good folks, warm company, but chilly weather. All right, we've got Marco B. from Firenze, the historic home of Panerai, Blue Shirt Buddha, Joe Tyson from Apex, North Carolina. We've got Dan CT from Sydenham, London. And we've got B&S, hey Tim, new look just for the time being until they turn on the heat. Okay, Port Washington, Long Island, Lucas B., my man. And we've got Nate B., and you can see that I am indeed rocking a Devon Tread today. More on that in a moment. Tread content guaranteed. But first, the best watch of 2020. This came out on October 29th, so it's not red-hot breaking news, but most of the coverage of watches in the last couple of days has focused on big-picture stuff and red-hot brands. And Oris quietly slips below the radar. This is the best new watch of 2020. It is the Oris Aquis Date. What's changed? Just the facts. The new Caliber 400 movement. It is legitimately a big deal. Long powered by Sellita movements, the Oris Aquis Date is now powered by the Caliber 400 with a 5-day power reserve. This is an exclusive movement by Oris, a 10-year service interval, and a 10-year warranty. This is a watch, and I have to repeat this, that costs between $3,300 and $3,500. Consider that before you pay 25 grand for a Kermit 2. Now there's more. You get an integrated bracelet with a diving clasp and quick release lugs. Just like the Vacheron Overseas, it has a quick release lug system that works with its bracelets and straps, so you can tool-free switch between the strap and the integrated bracelet. I should also mention that you're getting all of the goods with a ceramic bezel insert that matches the color of the turquoise metallic sunburst dial. And guys, hold on to your hats. It is a gradient style fume dial. This is all delivered in a 43.5 millimeter case, but don't be put off by the size. These wear small, which is to say you put this and the 41 millimeter Rolex sub on your wrist, they're both gonna fit and more or less wear the same way. 300 meters water resistant. This is the dive watch to buy in 2020. And easily, in my opinion, the best sports watch of the year, in contention for best overall timepiece release by anyone. Again, fully loaded, you're looking at $3,500. The movement has 2 mainspring barrels, 5-position adjustment, a silicone escapement, and let me repeat that one more time, a 10-year warranty. Patek is 2. All right, jumping into the box right here, Jean-Claude Beaver, him of the toothy grin and Swiss cheese. Mark S. from Brooklyn. We've got Luke McWilliam. We've got Russ Ellis joining in. We've got Gecko S27. We've got A&N asking me to spill the beans on my new watch. Well, it's not mine, not yet, but news coming. We've got BT Bossman from New Jersey, part of my old home tri-state area. And then Josh Raff asking, Tim, would you do this Oris or a Ploprof? Well, Josh, who's sitting right here, I like these softball questions. This is great. I would probably say that for the price, you can't beat the Oris. Even a used Ploprof, and we're talking about the modern version here, is not going to be cost competitive with the Oris. And of course, if it's used, it's probably not going to come with anywhere near the warranty. Remember, buying a Ploprof new right now, you get 5 years of warranty from Omega. So I would say realistically, they are too different to compare, but the Oris is still the value. Now, jumping right into tonight's scheduled program. Can you believe, guys, it's been 4 years since my infamous Watch You Want Election Night Special 2016. We had Halloween masks that time. This time the masks are rather different. Also, we had more people in front of the camera. Now all the people are behind the camera. I've got a crew. I've moved up in the world. That said, I did try to be inclusive. If you look at the image, can we go full screen on that? I tried to be inclusive by stealing one example of every major campaign sign from someone's lawn. And I have to say, it was an unaccustomed feeling for me to be touting expensive man jewelry, as I am wont to do day in and day out, and yet realize that in doing so, I was probably only the third most ridiculous person speaking that night. Like I said, I tried to take every single campaign's yard sign, but I was thwarted by the Green Party, because even after casing every house in the neighborhood with either a biodiesel Mercedes or a 30-year-old Saab, I still couldn't find a Jill Stein sign for my set. So tripartite politics it was, with the Libertarians joining the Democrats and the Republicans. And how different we were back then. During that show, you could see on my wrist from the screenshot, I'm wearing my old platinum JLC Reverso Tourbillon, and I expected to be spending the next presidential administration of 4 years in South Florida, which at the time was an electoral swing state hellscape of Hieronymus Bosch proportions. And as you can see, my fortunes haven't improved for 2020 because now I'm in Pennsylvania, which is just as bad. But I am wearing a different watch for election 2020, and it is appropriately made in the USA. This is the only luxury watch we've ever had, short of an occasional oddball RGM or Kobold, that's actually made in the United States. So let's do a quick wrist shot right here. We don't do many of them on the show. It's the Devon Tread, and you can see how this thing works. It's absolutely bonkers. It's made of aerospace and medical parts, and the watch basically displays the time on 4 belts. It's got 4 motors, and you can set it, and it's basically, it's not a smart watch, and it's not a traditional quartz watch. It's just a crazy watch, and frankly, I'm having a ton of fun with it. It's made in Southern California, so if you dig the Southern California vibes of this watch, then it's probably pretty much ideal for you. But I had to have an American watch on for the American electoral occasion. This is a fun watch. More news to follow. Praising AP. Defending watchmaking's most controversial brand. Now here's the thing about Audemars Piguet. We've discussed Audemars Piguet watches many times on this show, but I've never addressed in depth the image of the brand itself. Perhaps more than any of its peers in the high horology space, AP is a lightning rod for pointed opinions given the way it markets itself, the way it sells its watches, and the specific product design choices it often makes. So before jumping into a full-throated defense of a brand, I have to admit I've lambasted on multiple occasions. Let's review a few common critiques of Audemars Piguet. Okay, first, it's the Royal Oak Company. All sales and interest in the brand are Royal Oak related, and non-Royal Oak product like the Millenary, the Jules Audemars, the Edouard Piguet, and the recent Code 1159 invariably bomb. So it's at best half a brand. Now, you could also say that Patek, Vacheron, and Lange are nowhere near as dependent on a single model line. And that's true. That's valid criticism of AP. I would also say realistically, limited editions are an absolute joke because there's always another one or more production following in their path, in their trail, on their case. This watch, famously revealed last year as first a 75-piece limited edition, then AP said, no, wait, it's going to be 75 pieces a year. Then they said, no, wait, it's going to be out of the boutiques with no express limitation on production. Basically, in proportion to the interest shown in that watch after the Code 1159 went south. So this went from 75 pieces to unlimited in the space of, well, the SIHH show from beginning to end. And let's remember that if you've ever dealt with Audemars Piguet on the service side, the service invoices from this company are ransom notes. If you've ever wondered how you could spend $3,000 to $4,000 on a three-hand date watch in routine service, now you know. And keep in mind, that same JLC movement in the AP watch would cost perhaps half or 1/3 as much money to service if you were sending the same movement back to the manufacturer in a JLC or IWC timepiece. So the service costs are high. And I should even say that prior to an insane Grand Sonnery service charge from a brand that shall remain nameless, all of the highest service costs I'd ever heard of, even by word of mouth, were Audemars Piguet, and they reached deep into 5 figures. So AP service charges are infamous, even for basic watches. And AP has frankly cheapened some watches. Many movements feature mechanical finish to an extent unseen at Lange or Vacheron or Patek, for example. And it's important to remember that the Jumbo, which is the basic Royal Oak, it is the heir to the original 5402. They recently changed the monoblock case to a 3-part case, so they got rid of the original architecture to make the assembly cheaper and quicker. And in 2012, they switched from that beautiful hand-finished rotor to something that is obviously machine-crafted. So they have decontented even some of their best watches, and they deserve any flack they receive for that. So, finally, and maybe most pointed, there's this perception of arrogance that AP constantly sees itself as the cool kids with promotions trying too hard to grab attention. I mean, celebrity links are pushed so hard that most people aren't shocked to learn that the similarly ambassador-addicted Richard Mille brand has been partially owned by Audemars Piguet since 1999. So I guess it runs in the family. I would also say, think of this. Can you really imagine Terry Stern wanting or needing to throw his arm around fading action heroes for publicity shots? I can't even visualize that, and I have a pretty florid imagination. All of which is to say, that's before we get to press communications, and anyone who followed the launch of last year's Code 1159 remembers that it was incredibly pretentious and failed attempt at hipness. Which is to say, not only was the watch a bit of a bomb, but so was the rollout, and it rubbed people the wrong way. But wait, Francois Henri says wait, reconsider, there's a lot to love at AP, and now I'm going to discuss everything that AP does right. But first, let's see the box. What are you guys saying right now? Adam Crossfire, that new Oris is a great setup, a brand that is releasing some great pieces of late. We've got Anthony, Fifth Wrist Radio, hi from down under. Thanks for getting up early in Australia with me. We've got Seymour Rivers saying, wow, now better than Rolex in connection with that Oris. And then we have some comments on my scarf, some comments on the Devon, and we've got Zin Master in the box. Glad he made the show. I feel so bad. Zin Master joins on a day I'm not wearing my Zin. And then we have Lucas B735 saying, AP had such great potential of getting away from the one-trick pony image with the Code 1159, and they totally botched it. Boring base models and horrible choice of name. Right here we've got Bill B in the house from the island of Kauai. Very cool. Todd, plainly, AP sucks. I dispute that, but we're going to defend AP tonight. We're going to take the unconventional wisdom. And then right here, we've got Edward Ledden saying, I don't think we will be proud of the watch industry's limited edition era when we look back in 20 to 30 years. That's an interesting take, and it's definitely true. Sean B saying, celebrity links and tie-ins that make Breitling blush in connection with AP's marketing strategy, and possibly Richard Mille's as well. Let's take a look at your watches right now. Wrist shots number 2 for the evening. First, Christopher L. of the UK hits the road with his Omega Planet Ocean and Alfa Romeo. Driving Spirit and always on time. Khalid A and his Grand Seiko GMT Hodinkee edition play a round of golf in Dubai. Alexander T impresses with his watchbox bought Grand Seiko SBGR 51 and original art he created of this watch. Thank you for trusting our company, and very talented, I must say. And then Christian H captures San Francisco Bay with his JLC Reverso Duo, and you can see in the background Golden Gate in its resplendent orange glory. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your pieces on these pixels. Okay, AP rocks. Let's be pro AP for once and not cynical. We're going to build up, not tear down. In an era of negative politics, I plan to be the counterweight. So, warranty. This is huge. While Omega and Rolex offer 5 years these days, that's no longer exceptional. Vacheron and Patek offer only 2 years, while Lange will generously extend your factory warranty to 3 years if you buy from a boutique. It should be more, but AP's warranty far exceeds that of its rivals. So they're doing that right. Given their service costs, I find this just and considerate, and it should be standard in the high horology space, at least 5 years. Now, independence. Do you wonder why Vacheron and Lange have flooded the market, killed their resale value, and ultimately discounted out of their own boutiques? You don't do that from a position of strength, but strength is a long time in coming. It's years in the making. And because since 1875, AP has been owned and run by its founding families, they can make long-term decisions, strategic decisions for the health of the brand, the resale value of the product, and ultimately the satisfaction of the collector that you cannot do when, for example, you have shareholders, groups, or market forces imposing on business decisions. That's when you start blowing stuff out at 30% off out of your boutiques, and AP does not do that. So, I should also mention, not only do they have that family ownership and custody, but they also have a great museum, and AP more than most of the high-end, I would say probably close to Patek Philippe, in terms of cultivating their own museum, preserving their own history, undertaking ongoing scholarship regarding that history, and maintaining an exhibition facility where visitors can actually see all of it and understand it in context. So Audemars Piguet, in addition to having a museum and an exhaustive archive, actually has full-time historians and archivists who work on this. So you have to admit they do have respect for their history, and given the loveless relationship between many brands and their own history in the major groups, I find this to be incredibly refreshing. So, fixing the code 1159. Look, AP messed up in 2019. Everyone understood this. Everyone knew immediately. Heck, AP knew this immediately. Absent a successful watch launch, however, and it was absent a successful launch, the speed of correction would determine the verdict on this contentious product. And look, AP fixed it. They legitimately fixed it. The single biggest complaint, the basic code watches, went from a collection of some of the most insipid to some of the best dials in class. And it didn't take a lot to bring out the basic virtues of the case and the crystal and the movement and the lugs. All of this was spectacular in 2019, but with dials that looked flat and cheap, you could easily miss it, especially from shots taken head on. AP did right to fix it, and let's be honest, they got some of it right out of the gate, as the enamel dials on the Super Sonnery and the Tourbillon already looked superb, and the extraordinary Aventurine dial perpetual calendar remains one of the best looking watches available at any price. It was the goods last year, it's still the goods this year. That needed no apologies nor correction. Let's take a quick look into the box and see what you guys are saying. We've got Andreas N. joining from Vienna, staying up late in continental Europe. I really appreciate that. He bought a freaky Casio titanium camouflage today. Despite being a Blancpain 50 Fathoms and Rolex guy, he really loves the titanium. It's not a matter of price, and that is true. Watches are a lot of fun if they capture your imagination and your heart. Price be damned. And then right here, Matt Foster saying, AP Royal Oak is great, but the brand is boring overall these days. Bring back the Stade Classic. That was a wonderful Jules Audemars family titanium and rose gold chronograph from 2010. Highly recommended. And then we've got Calpin P saying, Tim, you're looking rather French in the scarf. Oh, thank you very much. I'll have to keep that in mind in the future. Hopefully not mime-like. The kind of debonair, sexy, mysterious Frenchman. And not the mime, not the walking into the wind thing. That's not me. I'm full of hot air, but I don't walk into it. And then right here, we've got a comment on why do we see, this is from Calpin again, why do we see a lot of AP Royal Oak chronograph on gray market sites like Rolex Forum? You know, to be honest, the 41 has never been very popular, and I felt like when they went to the 41 millimeter chronograph, it was just too large. It wore like an offshore, thinner, yes, but just as big across the wrist. I think the market for the AP chronograph is all the older 39 millimeter watch or the new 38 millimeter watch that, again, was pretty much an admission that AP got it wrong with the 41. So if you see a lot of those 41s for sale, I think it's because AP just oversized what was previously a popular watch, and now they're overcorrecting with the 38. They should have just gone back to the 39. No problem. It was something that didn't need breaking. And then right here we have Avi B saying, at the end of the day, it boils down to the interests of shareholders and stakeholders. Take a look at the independents and see how well they have preserved their brands and their products. And Chris L is asking, Tim, if you were to buy an Audemars Piguet, which model would you pick? I would pick a platinum example of reference 25723, the Schaefer Case Jump Hour Minute Repeater. That would be my choice. And if I could pick two Audemars Piguet watches, this is like Steve Martin's Christmas wish, I would take the Schaefer Jump Hour Minute Repeater and the original Ra Tourbillon Automatique. And if I could take three AP watches, I would pick the Schaefer, I would pick the Tourbillon, and I would pick the Star Wheel, the original early 90s Star Wheel. Now you know. All right, jumping back into our regularly scheduled program. Yours on mine, and they look fine. JCS throwing back to the 1950s with his Eberhard pulsation scale chronograph. Richard W. posts a rare Vacheron Royal Eagle chronograph alongside his BMW. We love our watches and wheels here. Nicholas A. hits the road with Lexus and his Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter chronograph. Guys, send me your watches and wheels shots. And Brian S. defies conventions with an Oris Aquis green and a kitty car that he is preparing to donate to a good cause. That is a very different watch and wheel shot. Reminds me of my cozy coupe when I was 3 years old. Good memories. All right, more to love about Audemars Piguet, but first let's jump into the box right here. Dave Opencar saying he's a fan of the H. Moser & C Streamliner. I agree. I like the flyback. I like the center seconds. I like them both. Some of the best watches of the year. And then Big Zebra saying, Tim of Watchbox Studios, code 1159 needs a regular series production of aventurine dial. I assume you mean for the chronograph and the automatic. I actually agree with you. I don't know if the price point is viable, just because last year when they did an enamel dial on an automatic, it looked great, but the price was breathtaking, and the code 1159 is already too expensive. Now, if they were to get smart and make this watch out of titanium, they could cut back on some commodity pricing and give us the aventurine dial. And I think that would be an awesome combination, because you take, or better yet, tantalum and titanium. Co-opt the wait list for the FP Journe Chronomètre Bleu. Please, AP, make this happen. And Budik 1 is saying he likes the brick on my wrist. Let's do a quick wrist shot again. For those of you just joining, I have this incredible Devon Tread. It's an American-made watch for my election special, and I'm actually going to turn it back on here. So if anyone was wondering what I'm wearing, this wrist clock is the Devon Tread 1. It's actually the Group 63 version, which is dedicated to a West Coast car club. But I digress. I'm considering it. I like it a lot. I'm feeling it. Let's talk a little bit more about what we love about Audemars Piguet. First, the Royal Oak is enough. I know we say it's the Royal Oak brand, just like Blancpain is the 50 Fathoms brand. Some companies have problems being mono-model brands. It's not necessarily a problem at AP. Think about it. You've got so many variations that they could effectively fill out an entire constellation's worth of models and subfamilies. You've got the offshores, which are big, brutal, and extravagant, but also sporty. They have a lot of presence. They're just as well made as the other APs. You have the jumbos, which are thin, delicate, graceful, historically inspired, and true to the platonic form of 1970s sports watch. Haute de gamme, beautiful movements, rarity, low production, the heart and soul of Audemars Piguet. Open worked. Let's take the Royal Oak to the dizzying heights of handcraft. Let's skeletonize it. Let's engrave it. Let's create umpteen interior and outward angles. Let's finish it perfectly, and let's finish a movement that is technically distinct, as this is the double balance. This wasn't the first Royal Oak open worked, but it is the grandest, which proves that even within a brand that is saturated with Royal Oaks, it is still possible to evolve the species. Let's talk about the chronographs. Hey, we just spoke of them. Some of the models are gorgeous, some are forgettable, but across the board they are striking and provocative. 41 millimeters is too big, but 38 to 39 is downright perfect. And since 1997, this has been an important model in the Royal Oak family. It fills out the range. Let's talk about divers. You want a dive watch? You got it. A high-end dive watch that fills a different niche than something like, for example, a comparably priced gold Submariner. This is a very different take on the luxury dive watch. You're paying a lot for steel. As with the original Royal Oak, what you're paying for is the level of handcraft invested in its construction. It's luxurious because of how it's made, not what it is. And there are the concepts. Do you want to shoot the moon in price, technology, style, materials, and ambition? The Royal Oak concept is for you and has been since the early 2000s. Several different versions now, all of which built by APRP, and we will talk about them in a moment. They are Audemars Piguet's Stormtroopers. So even if AP were only the Royal Oak, it would rank as a manufacturer amongst the very best manufacturers in the industry with its own movements, cases, engineering, and art design teams. Would any quasi-sentient business mind, think about this, if you were a businessman, would you trade AP's innumerable and enduringly successful Royal Oak variants for Vacheron's endless parade of anonymous dress watches and model lines? I certainly wouldn't. In that case, variety is not a strength. It's just more SKUs in the catalog. The AP Royal Oaks, for better or worse, stir opinions and passions. They make for a strong company, even if ultimately that company is hostage to its one famous model family. Let's talk about the ceramic Royal Oaks. I love these. If you watched my Drew Koblitz interview, you know he hates scratches, and so do I. But here's the thing, the ceramic Royal Oaks are like nothing else in their class. Vacheron, Patek, Lange, no way. The original Royal Oak Nautilus, and every watch that has emulated them, susceptible to scratches, scuffs, dents, immediate disfigurement by door frames, doorknobs, car seatbelt buckles, heck, even your desk and your own sleeve cuff. All of these things ultimately damage those watches, and you are paying for the finish, so to watch it diminish before your eyes isn't just bad from a resale standpoint. It is heart-rending to watch scratches appear on your Royal Oak or your Nautilus. With ceramic, you don't have that problem. And here's the thing, AP has the solution with variants that run the gamut from conservative in black to outrageous in white. And I should mention, from the Concept GMT to the open dial, open worked perpetual calendar, there's real variety here, and they're shooting the moon in cost, complexity, and finish. Yes, these are not watches for the common man. They are not playing against Omega, Breitling, and Rolex. But in the stratified realm of stuff like this, they are absolute standouts. These are timepieces that are genuinely ambitious, and because of the nature of Audemars Piguet, willing to be a little bit risque and provocative, they can do watches like that. You will never see a ceramic Nautilus. That I guarantee. So AP is willing to do things that push the limits in ways that are practical. And I should mention those ceramic Royal Oaks, they're not just scratch resistant. It takes 3 times as much time to finish those bezels, cases, and bracelets as it does the steel variants. So you're actually getting more even though you're paying more. Let's talk about the alumni of Audemars Piguet Renault et Papy. Renault et Papy is the elite division of Audemars Piguet. Originally created by Dominique Renault and Julio Papy in the late 1980s, by 1992 it was wholly owned by Audemars Piguet. Their specialties are minute repeaters, tourbillon, high complications, grand complications, and they have created an incredible alumni list. Think of the guys and gals who have been APRP at one point. Stephen Forsey, Robert Grubel, the Grunefeld brothers, Andrea Streller, Carol Forestier Casapi, Peter Speak-Marin, And we could go on and on and on. It's a limitless list that continues as incredible talent pours out of APRP year after year. It's what F3000 used to be for Formula One. It's what AAA is for the American Major League Baseball. It is literally a feeder series for the Swiss watch industry at the highest level. And APRP clients, who calls Audemars Piguet its sugar daddy? Let's look at some of the brands who have commissioned APRP to help them with high-end complication, starting with Breitling. Audemars Piguet Renoir Papi built to custom spec the Mulliner tourbillon from the Breitling for Bentley line. HYT, the H2, the H20, the H3, these are all APRP products. And if you buy that watch, you will see on the movement the staff of APRP. Alanga und Zona, who built the Pour le Mérite tourbillon? Well, Langa claims that APRP helped with some parts. If you speak to the AP people, parts add up to the whole, if you get what I'm saying. APRP was here. Let's talk about Jaeger-LeCoultre. Back in 1994, when JLC created its first reverso minute repeater, APRP was a consultant on that project. And finally, Richard Mille, lest we forget, AP is a financial stakeholder, but all of the best RM watches, the ones that are truly impressive and actually worth their 6 to 7 figure prices, those are the ones made by APRP. RM is not doing that itself. Thus, I rest my case. Audemars Piguet may not be the most polyvalent of brands. The Royal Oak dominates every page of the catalog and all of the buzz on social media and among watch collectors. Their dress watch lines perpetually fall flat on their faces, and yes, they can be arrogant assholes sometimes. But here's the thing, there's a lot to love. From their imagination to their willingness to push limits to their respect for history, their independent ownership, and the unusual and compelling products that pour from that company in every era of its history, AP ultimately is a brand I deeply love, even if, at times, I do love to hate it. Viewer wrist shots, let's take a look. Edward B. and his IWC Portuguese Yacht Club chronograph take time out for refreshment. Simon H. and his Rolex Sea Dweller take tonight's photography title, that is the best pure image anyone contributed, with this stunning full shot of his Rolex Sea Dweller. Ryan M. and his white dial Rolex Oyster Perpetual 39mm take the wheel. I'd love to know which car. And then Neil B. of Swing State, Minnesota gears up for the cold winter ahead as election approaches, but provides welcome respite from election tension with Tudor and the first snow of the season. Guys, send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. Let's see what you guys are saying right now. Jumping into the chat box. Multi D Hill is asking, Tim, please do tell me, APs have a terrible feel when you wind the crown, or are they on par with Rolex, the feel? They wind nicely. I think they have a nice detent. All of their movements feel quality. None of their crowns wobble, and the detents are well studied. I think they did a tactile test with a lot of these, and just about every AP I've ever found winds nicely. But keep in mind, they still use a couple of customer calibers, so that's not necessarily universal. But across the board, things like the 3120s, the new 4400 chronographs, the 4302s, they all wind and set very nicely. And then right here, Kevin S. asking, is Tim headed to Hodinkee with the scarf? No, but I also don't want to be headed to the doctor and it's freezing in here, so I'm dealing with the hipster couture. And then right here, we've got Lucas B, 735, saying, wow, Renoir Papi did the Pour le Mérite. Not only did they substantially build that watch, they created the process for fabricating the chain and the fusee and chain. And they actually linked the little individual links using silk thread. And as they riveted them, they would burn out the silk thread with a match to clear every rivet that had been completed. And this process is still used to this day to assemble that chain. And then right here, Abdul R saying, from the Black Forest in Germany, AP definitely on the pinnacle of watchmaking from technical abilities and knowledge. And then we have Jan Dan asking, or Jam Dan saying, Tim, what's with Omega? A new Date 8 could be a killer watch. The problem is The Date 8 is something that Rolex owns. And even if Omega were to launch another Date 8 Connie, they've done it before. Date 8 Aquaterra, they've done it before. Let's say they launch it in the Globe Master or the DeVille collection. The problem is, Omega has its own problem. It is all about Seamasters and Speedmasters. Like AP with the Royal Oak, it is in many ways a victim of its most successful model lines. Guys, send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your pieces on my pixels. Guys, brave the election, take a deep breath, meditate, eat your favorite food, go to a happy place. It'll be over soon. Thanks so much. Time out, Tim out. Remember to subscribe and comment below, and thanks for logging on.